Imagine for a moment that you walk into a room and don't say a single word, yet everyone feels your presence. It's not magic. It's identity. Because the world doesn't react to what you ask for. It reacts to what you believe you deserve. There are people who spend their lives knocking on doors, begging for love, chasing respect, and others who simply walk as if they already know who they are, and curiously, no one ignores them. Life is a cruelly honest mirror. It doesn't give you what you desire with your mouth, it gives you what you declare with your behavior. If you treat yourself like an option, you will be chosen halfway. If you treat yourself like a sacrifice, you will be used without guilt. But if you treat yourself like royalty, the world begins to bow its head. Because a queen doesn't scream her value. She doesn't beg for attention. She doesn't compete. She doesn't explain herself. A queen honors herself first, and then the world learns how to treat her. Today I'm not here to talk to you about empty pride. I'm here to talk about identity. About that silent strength born when you decide to stop begging and start choosing, because respect is not implored, love is not chased, and dignity is not negotiated. And when you change the way you walk through life, life changes the way it walks toward you. Today you are going to understand why you haven't been treated as you deserve, and how from this moment on you can become the woman who no longer asks for thrones because she inspires them. Stay, because what you are about to hear can transform not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Most people believe that respect is demanded, that admiration is requested, that dignified treatment is negotiated. I learned sometimes through hard knocks that all of that is a lie. The world doesn't respond to what you say you deserve, it responds to what you show you believe about yourself. And that is where everything begins, in your internal posture. I'm not just talking about how you walk or sit, I'm talking about how you inhabit yourself. Because you can't stand straight and still be hunched on the inside, asking for permission to exist, apologizing for taking up space, lowering your voice, when you should be affirming your truth. For years, I shrank myself emotionally so as not to be a bother, not to seem like too much, and not to lose approval. And what I gained was exactly that. Being treated as someone small, not because I deserved it, but because that is how I was presenting myself to life. Dignity is not arrogance, it is coherence. It is coherence. It is looking in the mirror and not betraying yourself. It's stopping the self-contempt when you fail and starting to speak with leadership. No one rules a kingdom by insulting their queen every morning. When you diminish yourself, you teach others to do the same. When you laugh at yourself to fit in, when you justify disrespect, when you accept less to avoid being alone, you are saying, without words, this is what I'm worth. And life, which is a great listener to the unconscious, answers you in that language. I understood this the day I got tired of betraying myself to maintain bonds that drained me. It wasn't comfortable. At first I felt alone. I doubted. I wondered if I was exaggerating, but something inside me straightened out. And when your internal posture changes, your energy changes. When your energy changes, the way you're treated changes. Start with the simple things, because the simple educates the unconscious. Straighten your body, yes, but also straighten your internal dialogue. Observe how you speak to yourself when no one is listening. If you speak with contempt, the world will echo it. If you speak with respect, the world adjusts itself. Stop minimizing your achievements. Stop introducing yourself as if it's no big deal. Stop apologizing for being firm. You don't need to harden yourself. You need to assert yourself. The queen doesn't scream, she doesn't beg, she doesn't over-explain. She walks with presence because she knows who she is, not because someone confirmed it. And when you decide to inhabit yourself with dignity, no crown is needed because your presence becomes your throne. When you support yourself from within, life learns to support you from without. There was a time in my life when I confused intensity with love and urgency with importance. I believed that if I insisted enough, if I explained better, if I gave a little more of myself, then someone would finally see my worth. And what I didn't understand was that every time I begged for attention, every time I chased a response, every time I justified absences or mistreatment, I was sending a silent but powerful message. I need you to choose me because I haven't chosen myself yet. No one who recognizes their own worth lives running after someone who doesn't know how to stay. The queen doesn't beg because she doesn't doubt her places. She doesn't chase someone else's crown. She rules her own inner territory. Begging is an elegant way of forgetting yourself. It's telling the world that your peace depends on someone else's response, And when you do that, you give away your power. I learned that the more you chase, the further they go, not because you are insufficient, but because neediness suffocates and security attracts. When you are complete with yourself, when you enjoy your own company, when you build a life that sustains you, you no longer look for someone to save you from emptiness, but to share from a place of fullness. And that changes absolutely everything. Choosing is an act of awareness. It is looking at yourself and saying, I do not accept emotional crumbs. I do not negotiate respect. I do not stay where I have to beg for the basics. Choosing is not always easy because it implies letting go of people, habits, and illusions that no longer serve you well. I remember a relationship where every unanswered message stole my peace, where I justified every broken promise until one day I got tired of feeling small for loving big. There was no drama. There was no shouting. There was only clarity. I left. And by leaving, I didn't lose love. I regained my dignity. Stopping the search for validation is one of the most liberating acts that exists. When you no longer need your value to be confirmed, you start walking lighter. Being good with yourself does not mean isolating yourself from the world. It means your happiness is not in anyone else's hands. Start filling yourself with experiences that nourish you, dreams that excite you, and habits that strengthen you. The stronger you become inside, the less you tolerate what weakens you. And yes, sometimes walking away from someone who doesn't value you hurts, but staying where you aren't chosen hurts much more in the long run. A queen does not stay in places where she has to beg for love. And she understands that those who want to be there will be. Those who value, care. Those who love, show it, and from that certainty, they walk with calm because they know they don't need to chase anything that is meant for them. When you stop begging, you start choosing. And when you choose from your own value, life responds with respect. There was a stage in my life where I believed that loving meant enduring, that being a good person meant understanding everything, that setting boundaries was synonymous with being cold or selfish. And out of fear of losing, I allowed things that hurt me. I kept quiet when something bothered me. I smiled when inside I was broken. I justified attitudes that deserved no justification until I understood a truth that changed my destiny. Everything you allow becomes a silent law in your life. People don't do with you what they want. They do with you what you allow. And when you don't set boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. Respect doesn't appear by magic. It is built and it starts with you. If you don't respect yourself, no one else will do it for you. Setting boundaries isn't building walls, it's drawing lines of self-love. It's telling the world what is okay and what is not. It's protecting your peace like the most valuable treasure you have. I remember the day I said it for the first time, no, without trembling, without justifying myself, without apologizing for taking care of me. It was uncomfortable, yes. There were surprised looks, awkward silences, even people who walked away, but it was also the day I began to reclaim my power. Saying no without guilt is an act of courage. We were taught to please, not to be a nuisance, and to put everyone else first. But every time you say yes when you want to say no, you betray yourself a little. And those small betrayals accumulate until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. Learning to say no is learning to say yes to yourself. You don't need to explain your decisions to everyone. Your well-being is not up for debate. Communicating boundaries calmly is just as important. It's not about yelling, fighting, or attacking. It's about speaking with firmness and respect. When you clearly express what you expect and what you want to tolerate, you are showing confidence low. And confidence generates respect. I learned that anyone who gets upset when you set boundaries benefited from you not having any. And that is not love, that is convenience. But a boundary is useless if you don't take action when it's crossed. Many people talk about respect, but when someone crosses the line, they forgive them over and over with no consequences. And so the message is clear. You can do it again. A true boundary is sustained by actions. Sometimes that action is keeping your distance. Other times it's leaving a relationship or changing how you allow people to talk to you. It's not punishment, it's consistency. It hurts at first because you aren't used to prioritizing yourself, but with time, it becomes freedom. You start surrounding yourself with people who do respect you, who do value you, and who don't need to be reminded how to treat you. Your energy changes, your posture changes, your life changes. When you decide to respect yourself, the world adjusts. And if someone doesn't know how to stay within your boundaries, they don't deserve a place in your kingdom. Because a queen doesn't allow what hurts her. She protects what is sacred. Before you open your mouth, before you say who you are, before you tell your story, the world has already felt your energy, perceived how you walk, how you look, and how you take up space. Self-esteem isn't shouted, it's vibrated. And believe me, people respond less to your words and more to the frequency from which you exist. There was a time when I said the right thing, smiled, and pretended to be confident. But inside I was tired, broken, and doubting myself. And although I tried to project strength, life kept bringing me situations that didn't respect me. Until I understood that it's not about acting like a queen. It's about feeling like a queen from within. Your energy is a reflection of how you treat yourself when no one is watching. If you neglect yourself, speak poorly to yourself, or live exhausted, sad, or frustrated, it shows. The body speaks, the eyes speak, your posture speaks. That is why raising your internal vibration isn't some abstract spiritual concept. It's profoundly practical. It starts with simple yet powerful habits. It began the day I decided to treat my body like the home I would live in for my entire life, because that's exactly what it is. When I started eating better, moving and sleeping enough, my mind cleared, my mood shifted, and my presence transformed. It wasn't just about looking better. It was about feeling stronger, more alive, more confident. Caring for your mind is just as important. What you consume on social media, what you listen to, and what you allow in conversations, all of that shapes your energy. I had to distance myself from environments full of complaints, gossip, and negativity. Not because I was better than anyone, but because I understood my peace was worth more than fitting in. I started surrounding myself with people who talked about dreams, growth, and solutions. And little by little, my way of thinking elevated. When your mind strengthens, your energy expands. Rest is also an act of self-love. You are not a machine. Living exhausted doesn't make you stronger, it makes you more vulnerable. When you don't sleep well, when you're always rushing, your patience runs out. Your mood drops and your self-esteem weakens. Learning to stop, to breathe, and to care for yourself is part of becoming a confident woman. And then something magical happens. Without saying anything different, people start treating you differently. They listen to you more, respect you more, and value you more. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your energy now communicates dignity, calm, and security. You no longer ask for respect. You inspire it. When you raise your internal vibration, you attract situations at that same frequency, healthier relationships, better opportunities, and more positive environments. Because life doesn't respond to what you say you deserve, it responds to the vibration of who you are. And when your energy aligns with your worth, the world has no choice but to notice. There was a time in my life when I confused intensity with love. I believed constant arguments, doubts, anxiety, and tears were a normal part of a deep relationship. I thought that if it hurt, it was because it mattered, but over time, I understood a truth that transformed how I love. Healthy love doesn't feel like war, it feels like home. It doesn't take away your peace, it gives it to you. A queen does not live in emotional chaos. She does not get used to suffering or normalize the storm just for fear of being alone. Often we stay where it hurts because it's what we know. Habit becomes stronger than well-being. We prefer a familiar wound to an uncertain future. I too stayed in places where my heart was tired, where my soul begged for calm, and my mind justified the unjustifiable. Until one day I understood that staying where there was no peace wasn't love, it was self-abandonment. Your intuition always knows. That quiet voice that tightens your chest when something isn't right. That discomfort that appears when you're disrespected. That emotional exhaustion that doesn't go away even with sleep. That is not weakness. It is wisdom. I learned to listen to it when I stopped silencing it with excuses. When I stopped saying, they'll change, it's not that bad, I'm overreacting. You're not overreacting when you are in pain. You are not weak when you get tired. You are waking up. Identifying toxic relationships requires courage because sometimes they come disguised as love, promises, or pretty memories, but look at actions more than words. Do you feel calm or always on edge? Does it encourage you to grow or does it dim your light? Does it care for you or does it constantly hurt you? Real love doesn't make you walk on eggshells, doesn't make you doubt your worth, doesn't steal your smile. And then comes the hardest part, having the courage to leave. Leaving not because you hate, but because you love yourself. Leaving even if it hurts, even if you miss them, even if you are afraid, because staying where there is no peace breaks you slowly. I had to leave situations I loved, but that were destroying me. I cried, I doubted, I wanted to go back, but every day away from that chaos, I reclaimed a little piece of myself. Leaving is an act of dignity. It is telling life I deserve something better. It is trusting that calm exists, that beautiful love exists, and that you don't have to suffer to be loved. When you choose well-being over habits, something shifts within you. Your energy rises, your self-esteem grows, and you begin to attract relationships that truly care for you. A queen doesn't stay in wars that aren't hers. She chooses peace, even if the path is uncertain, because she knows her tranquility is worth more than any storm. And when you choose yourself, life rewards you with calm. There was a stage in my life when I believed that defending myself meant speaking louder, explaining everything, justifying myself, answering every attack, and entering every argument. I thought that if I kept silent, I lost. I thought if I didn't react, they would see me as weak, but life taught me something powerful. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every battle is won by fighting, and not every noise needs an answer. Calm is not submission, it is self-mastery. And whoever masters themselves governs any situation. Conscious silence is not running away, it is choosing peace. It is looking at a provocation and deciding not to lower yourself. It is hearing a lack of respect and not reacting from a place of hurt, but from dignity. I learned this when I realized that every argument drained me, stole hours of tranquility, and left me with a knot in my chest. The more I explained, the less they understood me. The more I spoke, the less value my word had. Until one day, I decided to breathe and be silent. That day changed everything. Breathing before responding gives you back control. Because most conflicts are born from overflowing emotion, not from reason. When you react impulsively, you give away your power. When you take a pause, you reclaim your throne. I have seen how a calm response disarms more than 1,000 shouts. I have felt how firm silence makes the other person reflect, become uncomfortable, and confront themselves. It is not about allowing abuse, it is about not falling into unnecessary emotional games. Yeah. There are people who seek to provoke you, to feed their ego, to take you off your center, to see you lose your composure. When you don't give them that reaction, they lose their control over you. Avoiding unnecessary conflicts is self-love. Not every comment deserves your attention. Not every opinion deserves your explanation. Not every person deserves access to your energy. I learned to ask myself before answering, is this going to improve my life or just wear me down? And if the answer was wear and tear, I chose peace. By observing more and talking less, you become wise. When you are silent, you see people's true faces. When you don't interrupt with excuses, you notice their intentions. Silence reveals truths that noise hides. Many times, by staying calm, I discovered who truly respected me and who just wanted to fight. The queen is not rattled by just anything. Doesn't explain herself to those who don't want to understand, and doesn't shout to be heard. Your presence commands respect because it conveys control, confidence, and serenity. People can sense when someone is at peace with themselves. And I won't lie to you, it's hard at first because the ego wants to respond, defend itself, and win, but the true victory is keeping your peace. Every time you choose to breathe instead of react, you grow. You grow. Every time you choose conscious silence, you grow stronger. Yeah. Every time you choose calm, you respect yourself. Your silence doesn't make you small, it makes you powerful. Because when you control your emotions, no one else can control you. Discipline is one of the least understood secrets of true greatness. For a long time, I believed talent or inspiration were enough to stand out, that passion and emotions were enough to create the life I wanted. But life, hard and wise, taught me that consistency builds empires and discipline builds kingdoms. A queen is not made overnight. She doesn't just wake up one day and suddenly become strong, confident, and respected. She is built daily through small, seemingly insignificant decisions that, when accumulated, create unbreakable strength. Discipline is not sacrifice, it is self-love. It is choosing to get up when your body wants to sleep a little longer. It is working when motivation seems to be absent. It is keeping promises to yourself even when no one is watching. I have felt that struggle myself. Days when I want to give up, moments when laziness and doubt strike. And that is where discipline becomes the silent queen that sustains your throne. Every action repeated with intention is one more brick in building your identity. Every firm habit strengthens your character and elevates your value. The strategy lies in building routines that reinforce your energy, health, and mental clarity. I'm not talking about absurd impositions. I'm talking about creating habits that strengthen you. Waking up early to exercise, taking time to meditate, nourishing your body consciously, and planning your day with clear goals. All of that adds up, even when it isn't seen. Because the world sees results, but the magic happens in daily consistency. Having clear goals is fundamental. Queen who doesn't know where she is going gets lost among opinions, distractions, and commitments that don't add up. When you define what you want, every action has a purpose. Every habit gains meaning. I have learned to write down daily, weekly, and yearly objectives and review them constantly. This way, even on difficult days, I know that every small step counts, that I am not wasting my energy, that I am building something transcendent, and consistency is what turns discipline into real power. It doesn't matter if you start with small steps. What matters is keeping them up.